Just over a year ago I bought the CZ Shadow 2 4.5mm CO2 powered BB gun, and today I'm going to review its predecessor, the SP01 Shadow. And let me tell you, there's a lot going on with this pistol. Before I go on, I'm going to go through some direct comparisons between the two. Both pistols are visually very similar and are double action and single action. Both have got ambi safeties, although the design on the SP01, in my opinion, is a bit more ergonomic. Both have identical takedown levers and identical details on the trigger. The SP02 has an extended magazine release, whereas the one on the SP01 is a little bit more traditional. Both pistols take identical mags, which is excellent because it means that you can interchange in between the two. Both the SP01 and the SP02 have fibre sights, although the SP02 has a rear sight that seems to be adjustable for elevation. The SP01 has a nice brushed stainless effect on the barrel, whereas the SP02 is black. I actually prefer the SP01. The SP02 has these nice blue coloured aluminium grips, whereas the SP01 has these rubberized grips, and actually when I'm shooting I do prefer these. The SP02 comes in at just a shadow under a kilogram at around about 925 grams, whereas the SP01 is substantially lighter, coming in under 800 grams, around about 750. Those measurements are both without BBs, gas and magazines in guns. With a loaded mag, the SP01 is coming in at about 1.1 kilos, with the SP02 almost a full 0.3 or 300 grams heavier. SP02 has a stainless guide rod. The one on the SP01 seems to be some kind of plastic and is a little bit flexible. More on that later. Furthermore, top slide from the SP02 is fully compatible with the lower of the SP01 and vice versa. However, as we can see here with the SP02 slide on the SP01 base, there's a bit of a protrusion here, and with the SP01 slide on the SP02 base, it's slightly recessed into the lower. A slight amendment to what I just said about interchangeability of parts. The SP02 takedown lever works in the SP01, but the SP01 takedown lever does not work in the SP02. It won't cycle the slide, so just be aware of that if you decide to do swapping and changing of parts. SP01 has 3 grooves in the lower rail, whereas the SP02 only has 1. Checkering on the front of the grip is slightly different as well, with the SP02 going all the way around the grip. SP01 has a rounded trigger guard. SP02 is slightly squared off. Juxtaposed, the SP02 is marginally longer and just feels a little bit more hefty. While the mags are fully interchangeable, the one on the right there is for the SP01. There's got a slight cutout at the front of the magazine base. In the box you get a couple of Allen keys and the manual for the pistol. Pressing the magazine release allows the mag to drop free. Oops. And to access the screw, you pull back on this little catch, slide the base forward, and then you can remove that to insert your new 12-gram CO2 cartridge. BBs are loaded in the traditional way by pulling back the magazine follower and inserting the BBs into the slightly drilled recess there. You have to pull back on the catch to return the magazine base to its original position. Slide locks back when the magazine is empty. slide release, apply the safety catch by pushing forward on the safety, which is much easier than in the SP02. There's a bit more to grip on here. This is a good safety that works. I like this because it gives somewhere for your thumb to sit when you are sort of holding the pistol for shooting purposes. Release, fire. Very, very nice crisp trigger. Very little effort required to pull. Both the SP01 and SP02 have a full metal slide and lower, which makes them similar to pistols like the 1911, although the 1911 is single action. And different from pistols like the HK45, which has a polymer lower and a metal upper. The Glock 17 Gen 4, which again has the polymer lower with the metal slide, or the Smith & Wesson M&P40. Unlike the 1911, this pistol has a double action pull, which is quite heavy and gritty, if you must be honest with you. Single action pull, very nice and crisp. To field strip, first cock the pistol, making sure that the magazine is removed. Push the slide to the rear until the two little marks on the slide line up. Then remove the takedown pin and then slide top rail away. You'd only really need to do this very, very occasionally just to give the interior of this a light oiling. Now, I'm not going to take this apart. I have done that before, and it was such a pain to get this pin back in, this guide rod back in, that I've just decided not to film it. You know what, why don't I can always speed it up, can't I? Okay, so lift up, remove, and then the barrel assembly comes out. Now there is a little pin, locking pin, that hides the inner brass barrel, locks the inner brass barrel into place. That's got a nice weight to it. But putting the thing back together is an absolute drag. That part's easily enough. However, when you come to do this, it's an absolute beast to try and line up the pin. I'm going to have to do this off camera, sorry. Yeah, like 10 minutes later, I've figured out there's a knack. So you have to put the barrel in first, and then to get the guide rod in is an absolute pain. And I'm not going to take it out ever again, unless I absolutely have to. But at one point I thought I was going to break it, so my advice is don't really mess with this. I don't really think you need to be perfectly honest with you. Reassembly is pretty straightforward. There we go. Fully assembled and ready to go. Overall, this is a very nice piece and is one of my favourites. It shoots really well, has good balance, a nice trigger, and generally it's just very well finished. Also, that nice cutout hammer design is pretty cool as well. A couple of things I'm not too keen on about this pistol. Same goes for the SP02 actually. It would be nice if there was a couple of white dots on here to go with this quite nice fibre optic sight. While the SP02 has this kind of nice click when you employ the safety, it's a little bit difficult to actuate it, or it's a bit more difficult than the SP01 in my opinion. The downside being that the SP01, while the actuating the safety is somewhat easy, just pushing forward on this lower section, there's not really a very positive click to let you know it's engaged. Not too bad when you release it though. I particularly like the two-tone effect with this brushed stainless effect on the inner barrel. I really like these rubberized grips, they feel good, and the pistol is quite light to shoot. Barrel is nicely recessed, and I really like the finish of this. In fact, I think I prefer it to the SP02. I feel this has got a little bit more of a realistic kind of texture to it, whereas the SP02 felt a little bit like it was painted. It's a perfect companion for the SP02 because of the interchangeable mags. And while it lacks some of the bling of the SP02, I actually prefer this, as it looks a little bit more like a day-to-day firearm rather than something that you only get out on fancy range days. The SP01 is modelled on a competition IPSC pistol, as is the SP02, and it's a lot of fun to shoot. I hope you've enjoyed my review, and I look forward to seeing you on my next one. Have fun and shoot safe.